Hey guys, Damian Keyes here. Welcome back to the channel. So this one is very, very close to my heart and something I have done successfully for over 20 years. This to me, of getting more gigs, is an art form. It's not luck. There's no luck in this whatsoever. This is a strategical fight of how you can do everything in your power to get more gigs. Now there's three aspects to this strategy of getting more gigs, and each one is as important as the last. And it's very, very important that you make this strategy before you go and start emailing or contacting venues and promoters, because it's so easy to waste your time getting turned down, saying, no, you can't have a gig. And that rejection just goes around and round. And what we need to do is we need to put a strategy in place so when you do go to promoters, they say, hell yes. Now those three sections are before, during, and after a gig. So come with me on a journey. Stage one, the marketing. Now you need to show exactly why your live shows are so great. And also remember that people have very little imagination and they need you to show them rather than you telling them. Obviously, if you say, hey, we can bring 30 people or we can bring 50 people to your gig, that's fantastic, but the trust isn't there until they see other gigs with people at that gig having fun whilst you're on stage. And at which point, the imagination goes away and they say, I get it, I can see it. So do you have plenty of pictures and videos from banging shows where the crowd was going crazy when you were playing? Do they show off how great you were live? And do they show how much fun that crowd was having because of you? Now, whether it's a venue or a promoter or a bride or a client, they need to see a picture and put themselves and their audience or their friends and family into that picture. When you see a great gig, you see, I tell you what, that could be in my venue. Or if it's a bride, they could say, yeah, I see, that could be my friends and family having that much fun. It takes the imagination away. But Damian, I hear you say, what if we don't have these pictures or videos yet? After all, we do need to get one show in order to make the crowd go wild and get those pictures and videos. An excellent question. Now this is where you have to use your leverage. What have you got to bargain with? It might be that you can guarantee 20, 30, 40 tickets, which is enough to take a punt on you. It might be that you can blag a free show at a friend's gig or do a free gig, or possibly put on your own gig at your own venue. Invite everyone down and make sure you make an event of it and have people there to capture the entire night. Story time. So back in the day, which was 2008, I was just sat there twiddling my thumbs, not having any gigs. I just sold BIMM, the massive music college, and I was thinking, what am I going to do next? And then I got a phone call from an agent saying, hey, you've got a new band. How would you like to go and do a free gig? A free gig? Yes, I'm up for that, I said. The problem is the gig is 6 hours away in a different country. We were in the south of England and that was in mid to west Wales. A university gig in front of about 600 people for 200 quid, $200 petrol money. I said. We were up for it. We got in the van, we went and did the gig, and whilst we were there, we captured everything. We made sure that we did such a crazy good job at that gig, and we made sure there were people taking pictures and videos everywhere, and we did a really great job of then collecting all of that data and all of that content to send to other agents. And as a result of it, we didn't just get enough gigs for that band, but then we went on and built 28 other bands. That's right, 1,500 gigs a year, all from one gig. So what this does mean is the understanding that gigs come from gigs. It is a lot easier to get a gig with a gig. And if you can put on an amazing performance and look after everyone in that venue, it is so much easier for that one gig to become 2 gigs. And in order to do that, you need someone capturing the awesomeness, because you can't do it. You're on stage, you're performing, you're trying to organize everything. So take people with you and say, I need you to take 1,000 pictures. I need you to video the whole thing. I need to set up a camera on a stand so we make sure that we're getting everything so that we can use this in our marketing to get more gigs. Another tip is to make a show reel. Take all of the footage from all of the gigs or from the amazing one gig that you have done and edit it down into 15, 20, 30, 60 seconds show reel to show off the best bits. And make sure in that show reel there's you playing live. Make sure the audience is going crazy. Make sure there's pictures of you with the audience. Make sure you're capturing all of the best bits to take away the imagination and show people why they should bring you into their next gig. Add in some testimonials and possibly the odd client or promoter, and bish bash bosh, you have not just got a show reel, but you've got an advert as well to send out to the masses. Your Instagram should also have a highlighted stories reel of all of the great gigs that you are doing. You should be collecting that footage and pouring it into the bucket of Instagram highlights. Next, how contactable are you? Whilst you're reaching out to venues and promoters and agents, this is a chance to show off just how professional you are. So if your email is hornypixie69xxx@hotmail.com, it's probably time to update to Gmail because MSN died literally 10 years ago. When it comes to communication, speed is everything. When people email you saying, I'm looking for a band or a musician, they need to hear back soon. If you leave it for a day or 2 days, chances are your gig will have gone to someone else. So make sure you are getting these pop-ups to your phone because these are so important, and communication right now is the name of the game. But even more than that, when these people do contact you, what they are actually looking for isn't a band, it's someone who is going to solve their problem. So when they phone you up and say, are you available on this date? If you say, yeah, possibly, I'll just gonna have to check with Dave, the bass player, I'll get back to you. Then you phone Dave and Dave goes, oh, I think I might be able to do it. I'll have to go and check with my missus. And then you go, all right, I'll go and phone the drummer. And the drummer goes, yeah, I think I can do it. All of a sudden, the agent's like, oh, just give me an answer. So the way to win at this game is to make sure that you have a calendar of availability that you give to people and say, these are our dates. This is when we are free. If there isn't something booked in, you are allowed to book it in. Therefore, phone goes, want to book a band, look down, fine, tick the box, problem solved. Stage number 2, it's gig day. We are now on the gig. Is this gig going to be awesome? As a band, are you as tight and amazing and rehearsed as you possibly could be? Now think about that for a moment. Everyone just goes, yeah, of course we are, we're amazing. But really think, could you be better? Could you add in some more rehearsals? Could you learn those songs a little bit better? Could you potentially make this better than it was a week ago? The last band I was in, we videoed every single gig for the first 6 to 8 months because rehearsing is fantastic, but there's nothing quite like a gig, and I need to watch back every detail if I'm going to improve stuff. Was the intro okay? Was the ending okay? Was the band tight enough? Was the link of the front man good enough? The whole thing needed to fit together, and my job was to go afterwards into it like the black box recorder and say what went wrong and what can we fix. The thing is, you can rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, but you know what it's like. You walk on that stage and something might go wrong, or the dynamic might change, or just nerves might get to you. When you're watching it back, where are the 1%? Where are those tiny details that can improve? And yes, I know this is anal and maybe it doesn't actually, it takes away a little bit more of the fun, but if you want to get more gigs, these are the things that make a difference. Things are different live to the rehearsal room. So let me tell you a story. A couple of years ago, I got asked to go and do a keynote speech, a talk across in Boston in the US. They flew me from the UK to the US to go and do a talk. And I rehearsed and I rehearsed and I rehearsed. I knew exactly what I was going to say. Everything was perfect. I didn't just rehearse it until I could get it right. I rehearsed it so that I couldn't possibly get it wrong. Except when I got there was a few problems with the guy before me, things were running late, and my slot got shortened from 30 minutes to 20 minutes. And at which point I had to start taking slides out. I walked on stage thinking, God, I don't feel as prepared as I thought I would have done. And then disaster struck. Something that I had not planned for. There was no clock. There's always a clock. How am I supposed to time myself if there's no clock? And I was looking around the room and I was thinking, I've got this, I've done this enough times, it's going to be fine. I started talking, thinking I'd probably done around about 45 seconds before the lady in front of me went, you can probably wind it up now. And I was thinking, I've made a terrible, terrible mistake. As a result, I always make sure that I have my phone in front of me at a place where there is an extra clock just in case. But how was I to know? I rehearsed and I rehearsed and I rehearsed, but nothing beats when you walk on stage and something goes wrong. Now, when it comes to gigs, many bands start working when they walk on that stage and the show starts. No, no, no. As musicians and bands, if we want to get more gigs, we start working the moment we walk into that venue, because we are now giving first impressions to the venue, to the promoter, to the bar staff, to the sound crew. Everyone is judging us, and therefore they are responsible for whether we get more gigs or don't get more gigs. So how you act around all of the people at the venue before the audience comes in is absolutely crucial. And if you are the type of band that stays backstage like some kind of egotistical wannabe rock star, these things don't go unnoticed. Then you get on stage and you tear it up, and then you walk off stage. And sometimes bands go backstage. I think that's the biggest no-no. But sometimes bands walk across to the merch stand so they can stand there, sell some merch, and chat to some people as they leave. Fine, but there's a better solution. There is a golden nugget of time, which is about 10 to 15 minutes after you have played, where everyone is thinking they were so good, where you just get off that stage and you go into the crowd and you shake people's hands and you take pictures and you say thank you and you start conversations and build relationships. Because 10 minutes later, I promise you, you'll walk through that crowd and they'll have forgotten who you are. Lastly, there's the pack down and the thank yous. You've finished the night, and at which point it's time to pack your stuff down and get out. So do this as quick as possible, because everybody wants to leave, everyone's got a home to go to. At this point, a little bit of thoughtfulness, helpfulness, and friendliness goes a long, long way. There's usually a bit of a disconnect between bands and sound people, or bands and venues. Why do you think that is? It's because on the whole, there is a stereotype from sound people and also venues that bands and musicians just strut in, do their own stuff, have an ego, act like rock stars, and leave whilst they have to do all of the hard work with none of the great reward. So therefore, thank these people, help these people, and they will help you by building you up. You would not believe the amount of gigs that you can get from venues, because 99 out of 100 bands turn up to a venue and act like dickheads. And the 1% of people and bands that don't get recommended by that venue. And lastly, a tiny detail which will go a long way: always say goodbye. The amount of bands that just finish and leave instead of saying thanks and goodbye, just to make sure that you've finished on a nice note and then left. It makes a huge difference for a tiny detail. And stage 3, this is post-show. You've finished the show, you've left the venue, and then the next day or 2 days, your job is to make people feel absolutely gutted that they missed something. And there's plenty ways of doing that, not just from your socials, but on other people's socials as well. You can ask your audience and your friends if they've taken any photos and if they can post them so that you can reshare them. You can go to clients, promoters, venues, brides and grooms and say, if there's any pictures, we'd love to see them so that we can repost them as well. You're getting involved in the sharing, the community, and that posting the excitement. You can do the same thing with the bands that you played with the night before. Even if they don't post or don't repost, they will definitely appreciate the gesture of you posting something about them. You are no longer in the doing gigs game. You are in the getting gigs game. And I collect gigs like I collect trophies. This is a competition, and any gig that I can prize away for myself is a win. And you need to think the same way. On the last year I was gigging, I did 150 gigs. Not because I'm some amazing musician, it's because I had everything set up the right way. And they start to mount up, and you start getting gigs from gigs and recommendations and other people wanting you, and it's the momentum that keeps growing. You are not just there to entertain, you are there to look after people, to make people feel valued, to make people spread the word and want to see you and see that show again. The next time someone posts on socials looking for a band, you want your band name to be underneath. You need to see these guys. You need to book these guys. This is the band for you. You need everybody pushing you on other people's socials. And remember the ultimate golden rule. This is not about having a reason why you should get a gig. This is about having no reason whatsoever why you wouldn't get that gig. So I want to know your tips on getting as many gigs as possible. What's the little things that you do? Possibly something you put into an email, or possibly something that you send, or something you do live. What is your trick to get as many gigs as possible? I would love to know in the comments below. But otherwise, if you can do me a favor, if you can like, subscribe, more importantly, come and be a part of this community, because we are doing this every day and I'm so proud of what we are building. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.